Om. समस्त जन कल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम् वसुदेवसुतं देवं कंसचाणूरमर्दनं देवकी परमानन्दं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुं कृष्णं वन्दे जगद्गुरुम्. Okay. So verse 29, and you go, बुद्धिर्भेदं धृतिश्चैव गुणतस्त्रिविधं शृणु प्रोच्यमानमशेषेण पृथक्त्वेन धनञ्जय. So he says that here you, the threshold division of understanding, the threefold division of understanding and fortitude, made according to the qualities as I declare them fully and severally, O Dhananjaya. Now, see, this is such a scientific discussion. They have really been very, very analytical in describing action. So, action, actor, desire to act, the result of action, motivation for action, everything has been analyzed and put into categories. So, here also, ये देखिए वो क्या कह रहे हैं? He's saying that according to the predominant guna, understanding and fortitude also can be under threefold classification. They said now that understanding and fortitude are two important ingredients of action. Now, even they are of three different types. You see? So, देखो क्या है? हाँ, अभी यहाँ पे देखो. He's saying Shrinu. Shrinu again, वही as I told you, whenever the teacher says listen, mean listen carefully, pay attention, थोड़ा ध्यान दो. So he's calling out the attention of the student, and he says, here you the threefold division of understanding. एक अंडरस्टैंडिंग कितने तीन तरह की. दूसरा fortitude, the capacity to bear up any kind of distress, any kind of problem while doing action is called fortitude. According to, this is also of three kinds, according to the qualities as I declare them fully and severally. Severally means separately. Okay. Now he says, see, underlying these two factors, he says, which supply the fuel, which supply the dynamism, which supply the energy for work. He says that this is, now fortitude is dhriti. यहाँ पे देखो धृति, बुद्धि और धृति. फर्स्ट लाइन में देखिए, begins with बुद्धि भेदम धृतिश्चैव and dhriti. Buddhi and dhriti. That's what they mean. K is of three different kinds according to the gunas that are prevalent at that time. Now, courage and determination, dhriti. A courage and determination to go on even though the times are tough, even though it is very, very difficult, still to carry on and go on, that is called dhriti. And the one example that readily comes to my mind is soldiers fighting the battlefield. When you see them fighting, you wonder, how do they have the courage to go ahead, when they know very well that they can die. They know very well that bullets are coming from the other side, or shells aa rahe hain, ya bombs aa rahe hain, ya tanks fire kar rahe hain, whatever. But they still go and they want to go ahead and kill the enemy. That is fortitude. Amazing. Climbing hills, walking through deserts and heat and this and that. It is so hot in the desert. It is so hot that my brother was in the army and he was telling me that during an exercise, the tank gets so hot that we used to fry a egg on the tank bonnet. Just imagine. They could just put a little oil, break the egg on the egg bonnet, and it used to get fried. Think of the heat. And they go on doing their work in that. Huh. So that is called dhriti. Acha. But then how does that dhriti come? It is an unshaken courage, unshaken determination, even at the cost of a threat to your life, you are going to do it. क्यों आता है? See, all people who are also, fired up by some idea or the other, like say, you can say, freedom fighters like Bhagat Singh and others, Veer Savarkar and all that, that I am going to do it no matter what. Nothing can deter me. Now that kind of thing is called dhriti. तो वो जब इस तरह की होती है, that you will continue to do it because you are going to benefit your nation, your country for some noble cause. When you are doing it for some noble cause, then that dhriti is sattvic. Sacrificing your life for your country, sacrificing your comfort to do the right thing in life. हमारे तो वहीं तक सीमित है ना. Just to do the right thing, even if it is giving you discomfort, even if it is not allowing you to sleep. People on the battlefront 3-4 दिन तक सोते नहीं है. Can you imagine? And they keep doing their duty. सोच के देखिए आप. How much of dhriti that requires. Now that kind of dhriti is to do the right thing at the right time, and also to have the courage to go on doing it. Buddhi determines the right thing at the right time, and dhriti determines the courage to do it. This is called sattvic. Aage he is elaborating. प्रवृत्तिं च निवृत्तिं च कार्ये भयाभये बन्धं मोक्षं च या वेत्ति बुद्धिः सा पार्थ सात्विकी. He says, that which knows the path of work and renunciation, what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, fear and fearlessness, bondage and liberation, that understanding is sattvic, O Partha. Partha means, as I told you, whenever Krishna uses Partha, he wants to say, "O foolish one," either that, or he wants to say, Gurudev used to say, "Muddy headed fool, listen to me." That means Arjun is a confused entity at this time. So he is trying to convince him of the right thing. So he says Partha, he calls him Partha. Sometimes he calls him Mahabaho, sometimes he calls him Dhananjaya, sometimes he calls him Partha, sometimes he calls him Konteya. So these are basically all endearments. And lovingly he calls him different names at different times for whatever he is trying to make him understand. हाँ, so देखो क्या क्या. He says that the that buddhi is satviki, that is the best type of buddhi that can very clearly discriminate in what should be done, what should not be done. ठीक है ना? बड़ी clearly discriminate जो बुद्धि कर सकती है. Clearly नहीं करते हैं हम लोग. We have gray areas. हाँ इतना ठीक है, हाँ ये तो कर लेते हैं इसको तो. So we keep making compromises. No. But a Satviki buddhi does not make any compromise. If it is right and the buddhi discriminates it as right, the Satviki person will do it. So here it is. This is called the best type of understanding, the best type of intellect. The power of discrimination. Buddhi's power of discrimination. ये जो पूरा stanza, it's only about discrimination. Discriminating about what? Work and renunciation means क्या करें क्या छोड़ें. ठीक है. So what ought to be done and what ought not to be done. एक तो ये. Fear and fearlessness. What should be feared what should not be feared. हाँ, हम सब अलग अलग करते हैं. देखो, one is clearly discriminating the wrong from the right. That is the highest type of understanding. The wrong fields of endeavor should be renounced. The right fields you must put your effort into. Acha, what is wrong, what is right, ek baar intellect will always tell you. But somebody who does not have a sattvic buddhi, that person who is not sattvic will always go by doing the wrong thing. And what propels you to do the wrong thing even when you know that it is right? Batao. Sometimes it is a fit of temper. I'm just giving an example. Gurudev has also said temper. Temper mein, what does a person do? Have you seen people just giving up a very good job in a fit of temper? Just because they've had a ego hassle or the boss said something and that person is not able to clearly discriminate that being in a job still is better for me, or in my temper I resign and go, and then I suffer for months on end without a job. Is that better for me? So, person who can coolly discriminate, that is a sattvic buddhi. And the person who, in a fit of temper, does something wrong is not a sattvic buddhi. So, understand that later on, when you regret, later on, aap paschatap karte hain, later on, you feel so bad that why did I do it? But then the opportunity is gone. So, all that is not sattviki buddhi. You sometimes, under extreme vanity, you do something wrong. You know it is wrong, but it suits your vanity to do it, so you do it. You tell a lie because it helps build up your ego, but it is a lie. So you have done a wrong thing, but you have done it too because it suits your vanity. It flatters your vanity, so you have done it. Huh? So this thing. अच्छा, दूसरा क्या है? भया भये. भया भये is देखो, इसमें ना, I would like to give examples from the Vivek Chudamani over here. It means Sattvic Buddhi is that where you need to be afraid, you should be afraid. Where you do not need to be afraid, you should be fearless. That is a Sattvic Buddhi, in short. Now, to give you an example, Vivek Chudamani gives an example of somebody. रोप पे तो स्नेक सबको दिखता है ना, कि इट इज नथिंग बट इट इज अ स्नेक एंड यू फियर इट एंड यू गो अवे फ्रॉम इट. तो वो तो इल्यूजन है. इट इज नॉट सात्विकी बुद्धि, इल्यूजन है. बट somebody who thinks the snake to be a rope, Vivek Chudamani likes to reverse examples of the Vedantic type. So it is really a dangerous book, because it keeps slapping you all the time, that there are people who pick up the snake thinking it is a rope. What will the snake do? It will ultimately bite you. हम लोग लाइफ में क्या करते हैं? Something that will ultimately cause us harm. Cause harm to your reputation, cause harm to your self-respect, cause harm to your position in the society, cause harm to your mental peace of mind, all that. But we do it thinking कि नहीं इसमें तो बड़ा मजा है. Like Gurudev used to say, ना मजा मजा. So at that time you think मजा मजा, and you like to take it. And once you do it, Buddhi is telling you, don't eat this rasgulla, you are diabetic, you have very high sugar. And what does the mind do? Mind says, nahi, once in a while, it doesn't matter. Thodi si insulin aur badha lenge. Come on, let us have it. And you take it. This is catching a snake, thinking it to be a rope. Wrong. Another example again from Vivek Chudamani. When you want to cross a river which is full of crocodiles, you cross it in a very good boat. But what of that man who mistakes the crocodile for the boat and is sitting on the crocodile to go across the river? That is this kind of buddhi. which is not Satviki. I'm giving you examples of the opposite kind. Huh? So what will happen? The crocodile is going to make a lunch meal out of him. Now here, okay. So then, fear and no fear. Uska hi bhi example I gave you of a soldier, and also Gurudev has given an example. This is the देखो रामचंद्र जी का एग्जाम्पल दिया है गुरुदेव ने, तो आई वुड लाइक टू ब्रिंग इट टू योर माइंड सीता जी का. ओके, सीता जी का एग्जाम्पल, फियरलेसनेस का एग्जाम्पल फर्स्ट. राम जी का, सीता जी के लिए ही फॉट अलोन अ great महारथी like रावण. He fought him fearlessly. उनके पास रथ भी नहीं था. रथ भी नहीं था. विभीषण इनफैक्ट वाज वरिड कि राम जी बिना रथ के लड़ रहे हैं रावण से. हु सच अ ग्रेट वॉरियर, और कितने बड़े रथ पे बैठ के रावण आया. तो रामचरितमानस में लाइन है ना, रावण रथी बिरथ रघुवीरा, देखि विभीषण भयो अधीरा, है ना. And then Ramji gives him a good, very good teaching, saying that the rath that brings you victory is not this chariot जिसमें घोड़े लगे होते हैं और आप ऊंचे पे बैठे हैं ओहदे पे. That is not the rath that gives you victory. The rath that gives you victory is your courage, your fortitude, your righteousness, all that Ramji tells him. So that is an example of fearlessness, Ramji ka. Was to bring back his wife Sita, huh? And do the right thing. Okay. Now then, when he sends Sita ji to the Valmiki ashram in the forest, on only one descent from a man in his kingdom. At that time, Ramji is afraid. See, I'm using the word fear. Ramji is afraid that this is the beginning of descent in my kingdom. People are going to begin talking against Sita ji, and that Sita ji is the queen, and it will be a very bad scene over here. So, to protect Sita ji from that kind of descent, he sent her to the Valmiki ashram to live there so that the descent dies down. That was out of fear for the same wife, Sita ji, for whom he fought so bravely over there. So that is an example of fearlessness, and this is an example of the right kind of fear. As this Sattvic Buddhi, example of Sattvic Buddhi, that you should fear what requires to be feared. You must fear. Otherwise, what happens? आप bravado करोगे ना, हाँ, तो फिर आप, that is going to cause this a great loss to you. A great loss to you. Many people do this. जहाँ उनको डर के रहना चाहिए वहाँ कहते हैं नहीं कुछ नहीं हम तो ये करेंगे. And then what happens? Then they fall a prey to something or the other, or something wrong happens to them. So this is fear, fearlessness. Then bandhan and moksham. So that understanding is sattvic, which clearly recognizes the tendencies in one's own makeup, own mental makeup. What is the thing that can enslave me, and what is the thing that can give me liberation? To discriminate between the two and then embrace that which will give you liberation and renounce that which will enslave you. Please think very carefully whenever you are interacting in the world, that what is that thing that can enslave you? Attachment. देखा है ना attachment के examples, how they enslave you. Mother is enslaved to her child. Out of what? Out of what? Attachment. Attachment. But that is for the good of the child at that. हाँ, but देखो attachment अगर आपको इतना हो कि बच्चा तो 50 साल का बच्चा हो गया and he is doing a wrong thing and still the mother and father are forgiving him for doing that wrong thing, that is the wrong kind of attachment. है ना? To discriminate between what will enslave you or what is enslaving you and what is this thing. So ये जो है ये बहुत ध्यान देने की चीज है. Now over here, taking the right, doing the right example of buddhi. बुद्धि का right example ये है that even when you have failure in life, even when there are adversities in life, to use them as a stepping stone to rise. Okay, that is the right understanding of a failure, right understanding of an adverse situation. That let me use this very thing. How intelligently can I use this very thing to rise in my life? And an important example from that, which Gurudev also gave us, I've heard that talk of his, he's given this same example over here. So, since I've heard it, I'll just tell you in my own words. How you can convert the biggest misfortune in your life to your benefit, to turn it around to your benefit. Okay. There was once upon a time, there was this kingdom where the rule was that a king is first elected, then he is going to rule for 5 years. And in those 5 years, everybody has to honor him, everybody has to listen to him, and he has to be judicious enough to do the right thing. And a king is all three. He is executive, judiciary, and what is the third? Uh, people's will. He is the executive power, he is the judicial power. तो वो सब कुछ मिला के एक ही होता है. He is the lawmaker, everything. So then, so he is made the king. After 5 years, क्या होता था? कि there was a river around that kingdom, and the king used to be ferried across the river to the other side and left there. Now, the other side of the river was a dense forest full of wild animals, and the king was left there to be eaten up by the animals. ये था. Very strange, custom or whatever, but that is how it was. Now, so once a wise king who had his discrimination, power, and buddhi intact, उसने क्या किया? When he became the king, from day one, what was his order? Clear the forests on the other side. So he sent his people in boats to the other side to totally cut away the forest and clear the ground. And then he sent other people to create a beautiful new city over there. So a beautiful new city was created over there. After that, he sent businessmen and industrialists and all that to set up great factories and generate wealth over there. So they were sent. Then he built schools over there for children to be educated. All that he did, he made a beautiful, what they call today, a smart city. So he made a smart city. So then what happened? When the 5 years got over, as the custom was, everybody gave him a grand farewell send off. He was put in a boat and he was ferried across the river and left on the other side of the river so that a new king can be elected on this side. So, where did that king reach then? Think about it. He reached there in a beautiful new kingdom, which is fully functional with industries, businesses, schools, colleges, hospitals, everything was there. It was a smart city. And then he lived over there beautifully, nicely, and ruled over there as a king of that city. So this is what we need to do when we do something like that we plan ahead for our future, do the right thing, choose करके कि हमको इस चीज की जरूरत पड़ेगी, and we must do it now so that we are not in a soup later on. That is the Satviki Buddhi. Okay. Now come to the next, that is the Satviki Buddhi, Satviki understanding. Now come to the next verse. Yaya dharmam adharmam cha कार्यं च कार्यमेव च अयथावत् प्रजानाति बुद्धि सा पार्थ राजसी. Now for the rajasic buddhi. राजसिक बुद्धि को देखिए आप. Okay. What does it say? The translation says that by which one wrongly understands dharma and adharma. देखो, धर्म को अधर्म समझते हैं और अधर्म को धर्म समझते हैं. That buddhi. And also what ought to be done and what ought not to be done, that intellect, O Partha, is rajasic. देखो, जो wrongly understand करता है. And why this is given in the rajasic? Because the rajasic person, even when he knows कि ये धार्मिक चीज है, he will only do what he thinks is good for him. He will not sacrifice for the good. He will sacrifice for what is his profit, what is his benefit. Even if it is immoral, even if it is wrong, he will do it thinking कि मुझे तो इसी से फायदा है. Okay. Now, iska, what is the best example here? This is a perverted buddhi, a slightly perverted buddhi, not completely, because वो राजसिक है, वो कुछ तो फायदा करेगा, वो अपना फायदा करेगा, but दूसरे का नुकसान करेगा. That is rajasic buddhi. The example that comes to my mind is Duryodhan. ठीक है ना? What does Duryodhan say? Duryodhan says, even Ravan said the same thing. I know what is right. I know what is right, but I cannot help doing the wrong thing. है ना? This is a rajasic buddhi. That the instincts are so strong, the desires are so strong that he will fulfill his desire at any cost. At any cost. Even if it is adharmic. तो ये वो जानबूझ के वो अपने आप को कन्विंस करते हैं that what I'm doing is right. देखो, perverted understanding is what? When you are doing something wrong, you cannot do it unless your intellect sanctions it. ध्यान देना. Unless your intellect sanctions an action, you will not do it. You cannot do it. So the intellect comes up with very, very interesting excuses to allow you to do it. Haven't you heard people saying कि नहीं नहीं फिर ऐसे करने से फिर ये तो मुझे करना ही था, because अगर मैं वैसे करता तो बड़ा नुकसान हो जाता. I have to do this, I know it is wrong, but then what to do? There's no excuse. I have to do it like this. You've heard it or not? So that is how people who want to save tax, and one is tax saving, the other is tax chori. Tax chori is wrong. Tax saving is not wrong. If you have a plan how you can save tax, तो ठीक है, करिए. But if you're doing something totally wrong and reporting it in another way, that is wrong, right? So then here it is, देखिए, perverted intellect, तो वो क्या है? Wrongly doing things because you're so rajasic that you want only your profit. You can perceive only that which is ultimately good for you. It may be wrong, it may be bad for others, it may bring destruction to others. Ravan is another example. He also knew what is right. अच्छे खासे उसको पता. देखो, रावण बहुत बड़ा ज्ञानी था, बहुत बड़ा तपस्वी था. You know that. Everybody knows that he was a big jnani, big tapasvi, and yet, so don't think that knowledge, if you have, it will save you, unless you apply that knowledge, unless that knowledge is registered inside you, and you will, no matter what it is, you will do the right thing and you will not do the wrong thing. Then only that knowledge becomes sattvic. But if knowingly you still do what you please, then that is rajasic knowledge. Okay, तो रावण ने भी यही करा था, और उसका रिजल्ट क्या हुआ? You saw the result. The entire destruction of Lanka, the entire destruction of the Rakshas, सारे राक्षस मर गए थे ना. So the demonic race was wiped out the face of this earth. And it was a very rich सोने की लंका, रावण की, and a very powerful king. Look what happened to it. So that is what happens, that willful wrong action you do, because your intellect starts giving you excuses to do the wrong thing. That is rajasic, because you think it benefits you in some way or the other. Now this is called apurva action. Why is it called apurva? Apurva means that which has not come to its logical end, which is half done. Why it is called? I'll explain to you. When you do an action, unless it ultimately you see the result of it, that action is still half. The action completes itself in its result. Acha. Many times the result comes much later. It doesn't come immediately. It's not an immediate result. Like you slap somebody and he slaps you back. वो क्या हुआ? Result of an action immediately happened. But there are some actions that you have seen. You have eaten something that is, has got bacteria in it, or it is rotten, or there is some, जिसको आप कहते हैं food poisoning. Now you have eaten it, but it takes time to go into your system. It takes time to take effect, and then when the effect happens of food poisoning, see what happens. But at that time you enjoyed it. You like the taste of it. Even if somebody told you कि नहीं नहीं इसको मत खाओ, ये तो लगता है खराब हो गया, still you eat it up, thinking that no, this is okay, I'm enjoying it, it's perfectly all right. Then what happens later? Your intellect gave you an excuse to eat it, पर उसका result क्या हुआ, है ना? So that kind of thing. So you give an excuse to yourself to do the wrong thing, and then you do the wrong thing. That so जब उसका result आता, that is why it is called apurva. Apurva, अब मैं समझा दिया आपको कि action when it completes itself, then only it is called a purna action, and completes itself in its result. अच्छा, come to the next verse. अधर्मं धर्ममिति या मन्यते तमसावृता सर्वार्थान् विपरीतांश्च बुद्धि सा पार्थ तामसी. Now the third kind of buddhi, that is the tamasi buddhi. हाँ, अभी इसको भी ज्यादा एक्सप्लेनेशन गुरुदेव ने भी नहीं दिया है, because we all know it. हमको अच्छे से मालूम है, क्योंकि हमारी most of our buddhi, the percentage of maximum people is tamasi buddhi. It is a kya? That which enveloped in darkness sees a dharma as dharma. How is it different from the rajasic? Rajasic knows what is dharma, yet does the adharma. इसमें क्या है कि उसको अधर्म ही धर्म दिखता है. सोच के देखो. This is terrible. That he sees adharma as dharma, ke nahi yahi sahi hai. That is tamasic buddhi. This is an age of permissiveness, where a lot of children are convinced by the media. Not only children, grown-up human beings are convinced by the media to do something wrong, morally wrong, ethically wrong, and they convince them in such a manner कि नहीं यही सही है आपके लिए. Think about it. वही जो मैं हमेशा एग्जांपल देती हूँ, children going about with the t-shirt or bush-shirt जिस पे लिखा होता है just do it. Just do it means what? You feel like doing something wrong, karo. It is permissiveness. There are no norms of the decent kinds left, neither for dress, nor for behavior. They just say, just do what you want to. Now, that kind of permissive freedom is what, ये इसका एग्जाम्पल तामसी बुद्धि का, कि जो चीज always people have told you that this will ultimately harm you, you don't listen and you go and do it because you think that is the right thing to do. ठीक है ना? So गुरुदेव तो बड़े strong hitting examples देते थे. I don't think I will like to give that, but here ये देखो. Now see this, what is the adharma as dharma, and all things perverted. Perverted means not right thinking. That intellect, O Partha, is tamasic, which always results in sorrow, which will always result in sorrow or harm to you as well as to the other person. That is a tamasic buddhi. A murderer, to give you an example, a murderer. He causes harm to someone else. And then what happens to him? Go to jail lifelong. Spend your whole life in the jail miserably. So what is the net result of that action? You thought you're doing the right action. No, he deserves to die. I have to kill him. Terrorists. Fired up by wrong understanding. Or whatever. उनको जो भी लालच मिला है, जो कुछ भी मिला है, वो because of which they do it. Or the wrong understanding of some gain in heaven that they will get by killing somebody, and they go and kill somebody. What happens to them then? वो भी मरा, आप भी मरे. Ultimately, you will be killed. Isn't it? So, मैं उसकी तो दोनों आंख फोड़ूंगा, चाहे मेरी एक फूट जाए, doesn't matter. This is tamasic बुद्धि. तामसिक बुद्धि. इसमें आते हैं fools, criminals, and the mentally sick people. Even the mentally sick people do those things. One kind of person who does it is a fool, total fool. And one is a mentally sick person, jisko he can't help it. His mind has become perverted. His own mind has become perverted. तो वो करे क्या बेचारा? वो कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते. So they have a Gurudev writes that they're a chronic bundle of misunderstanding. His buddhi is a chronic bundle of misunderstanding. Misunderstanding the wrong as the right. Okay. So recognizing dharma as a dharma, the right as wrong, this faculty of coming to wrong judgments, allowing you to do anything and everything anyhow, whatever you feel like doing, wrong or right, not calculating the consequences of your action. That is the tamasic buddhi. So we stop here. It is like people behave when they are drunk, or when they are under drugs. तब क्या होता है? बुद्धि again gets perverted, isn't it? You don't recognize that this particular thing, this alcohol is going to damage my liver. You don't understand. All alcoholics ultimately suffer ill health. All drug addicts, their not only body is ruined, their mind is ruined. Even a little alcohol given to a spiritual seeker will take him back hugely in his spiritual pursuit. Because alcohol fuddles the brain, drugs fuddle the brain. So all these things that are considered not to be done are not to be done. But when you think that no, they will give me some pleasure, they will give me happiness, I am doing this is the right thing to do, and then they convince themselves everybody does it. My grandfather drank till the age of 90, nothing happened to him, so I'll also drink. So this kind of logic people get, and they convince themselves to do the wrong thing. So ये जो action है, this becomes a tamasic buddhi that makes you perverted and makes you misunderstand the opposite thing is the right thing. Okay, so we stop here. Next time we will take verse 33. Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Hari Om.